Minnesota Vikings and Viking Hot Takes.
Hello, let's go. The 7-9 Minnesota Vikings are watching the 2020 playoffs at home. The Detroit Lions have converted to cannibalism, and I'm terrified. And Gary Kubiak has officially retired as offensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. That happened today. And now it's time for Viking Hot Takes, the fast-moving Minnesota Vikings talk show. We've got Eric Thompson from the Daily Norseman. You've got myself, Flip Mazzi, from Climbing the Pocket. So buckle up, protect those kneecaps, and let's go. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And yes, I was thoroughly entertained by Campbell's press conference today. I mean, my favorite part of it was when I'm not going to sit here and do a bunch of football coach speak. And then he went off on coach speak for a good 10 minutes straight. It was absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely wild. Well, like I said, this is a fast moving show. We've got 20 minutes and we've got 6 questions. So are you ready to get to it?
I'm ready.
Eric, let's get the timer up on the clock. And in 3, 2, 1, okay. First question. There's 4 teams left in the NFL playoffs: the Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills. We've got the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing each other in the NFC. So, Eric, please let the people know which of these 4 teams are you cheering for to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I can tell you the one I'm cheering for not to win the Super Bowl the most, and that's of course the Green Bay Packers. That's our division rival. They've had only 2 in my lifetime, but that's too many. It's amazing that they've only had 2 actually. When you think about it, with 30 straight years of Hall of Fame quarterback play, I think they're probably the favorite. But again, anyone but them. I'm probably, out of the 4 teams remaining, cheering for the Bills just because they're kind of their AFC kindred spirits. They're the other team that's 0-4 in the Super Bowl. And every time a team kind of breaks that curse and finally breaks through, it gives me a smidgen of hope that the Vikings can maybe do it one day, especially if the Bills, if they lost 4 in a row and somehow they can pull it off this year, it'll give me a little bit of hope going forward with the Vikings, and maybe it'll be their turn one day. And of course, the Chiefs, I kind of like the whole, is this the beginning of a new dynasty? And of course, Mahomes is electric to watch. Sounds like he's going to play this week, which gives the Chiefs a good chance. And the Buccaneers, again, I'm going to be cheering hard for them on Sunday. Tom Brady's won plenty. No one's going to feel bad if he doesn't win his 7th Super Bowl. But I think that'd be my order: the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bucks, and then a very, very distant 4th, the Packers.
I get it. And we agree right off the bat. So here we go. I mean, I have to choose Buffalo. Not because of Stephon Diggs, not because of Josh Allen, but exactly what you just said. They're the only team left out of the 4 that hasn't won a Super Bowl before. It's that simple. I don't understand how a Vikings fan cannot cheer for that, other than some weird grudge you have with the Bills Mafia of the people of Northern New York.
Misery
So
loves company. That's the only way that you can not cheer for the Bills if you're a Vikings fan. You just want to be miserable with
half of
many other
these
teams.
people don't even know any Bills fans to be miserable with. So I don't have time for that. Not cheering for the front runners. I almost never do. Not cheering for the Cheeseheads or Kansas City. Tampa Bay, the idea of a home Super Bowl for them kind of stings a bit after 2017.
No
So
kidding.
maybe misery does love company a little bit there. But yeah, I have to choose Buffalo. That's question number 1 for me. What's yours?
Well, the Vikings have a lot of positions to address in free agency and the draft. There's a lot of holes on the roster right now on both sides of the ball that they have to improve if they're going to improve on that 7-9 record. So, what position should be the highest priority, in your opinion, for the Vikings in free agency?
Okay, so highest priority in free agency specifically, that is offensive guard. let's not get complicated here. And there's many factors. Number one, Dakota Dozier struggled mightily at left guard for the Vikings. He led NFL guards in pressures allowed, 3 per game, and he finished second in the NFL in penalties. That's before you get to the film, which was just awful. So, number one, we got to get rid of Dakota Dozier, got to replace him. Number two, we still somehow don't know whether Ezra Cleveland is a guard or a tackle. If they move him to tackle, they now need 2 guards. With Pat Elflein no longer on the team, Brett Jones, a free agent. And number 3, when you talk specifically about free agency needs, they're already young on the offensive line. Brian O'Neill and Garrett Bradbury are both 25. Some Vikings fans make fun of the fact that Garrett Bradbury is already 25, but that's still relatively young. Ezra Cleveland is 22. So I don't think they need more youth on the offensive line. They need a veteran answer, and they need to get this one right.
Yeah, I mean that is one position that they absolutely have to improve upon. It's going to basically unlock anything they want to do on the offense, especially because everyone points to, well, why didn't they run as much play action this year? They had so much success with Kirk Cousins in 2019. I really think a lot of it was they were getting blown up right away, especially against any kind of good defensive tackle. So, but the problem with me with guard and free agency, there are a couple really good ones. I just don't think the Vikings are going to be able to afford. Like Brandon Scherf, for instance, is a really good one. Joe Thuney would be another one that, I mean, he started right off the bat for New England basically most of his career. I don't know if they're going to be in that kind of price range, but I mean, it's going to be hard to get worse, I think, than what Dakota Dozier and of course what Drew Samia did before Cleveland came in for him. It's one area that they just can't. They don't have to be world beaters. No one expects this team to be the '90s Cowboys offensive line. But if they can just improve from absolutely terrible to even below average, I think that could really unlock a lot what the offense can do.
Yeah, well, they are broke, and there is that. But literally, if
Mm-hmm.
they only sign one free agent, it's got to be a guard, and it's not going to be that high price. Maybe it's not going to be that Joe Thuney, that perfect little guard that they can plug and play. But they got to find somebody who can do better than whatever Dakota Dozier did last year. And I don't know what the
Right.
hell they do if they plan on moving Ezra Cleveland to tackle.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there are way more questions than answers right now. So hopefully they can address at least a couple of those questions in the offseason.
So many questions. And so, my second question for you, looking back on the Vikings 2020 season, I think some fans are calling it a fluke year because of injuries. Some thought it was a down year, but Minnesota still had some nice moments during the 2020 season. So, Eric, for you, what was your favorite play from the year that was?
Well, I think I have. I'll choose one on each side of the ball. I think the first one that jumps to mind is one that I think a lot of Vikings Twitter's profile pictures changed after it happened. It was that DJ Wonnum's sack of Aaron Rodgers at the end of the Green Bay game. I think that was just. Granted, both seasons. I mean, the teams went in opposite directions after that game, but it gave the Vikings fans. They were. I mean, we were at our
That was a
lowest of lows
moment.
heading into. Right. I mean, it was. I mean, I was expecting an absolute blowout that game. I thought the Packers are absolutely going to beat the brakes off the Vikings, but to win the game on a just that perfect his facial expression, he's holding the ball back and the fumble to end the game. That was just wonderful. And I think on offense, I mean, there's a lot to choose from because
Mhm.
they had a pretty explosive offense. But I think the one that stands out to me, even though it came in a loss, was Justin Jefferson's first
Mhm.
touchdown in the Tennessee game. That was his
Tennessee
coming out
Titans.
moment. Yep, it was, and I think it put him up by like 12 points. It was right at the beginning of the second half. It's like, all right, here we got our rookie and everything. Of course, the game didn't turn out well, but that put him on the map for the rest of the year. It made us all wonder, okay, where the heck was this guy? Why wasn't he just starting like this the first 2 games? So it was,
Yeah.
I mean, it was at 71 yards. It was just a thing of beauty. We got to see the gritty for the first time of many of the season. It was great, and hopefully it's a sign of what's to come. So it's on a otherwise down year. That's just having a bright spot like Jefferson was really nice.
That moment was so cold. I mean, just the way he strode towards the sideline, catches that ball, contested catch, and then he just jukes two Titans into each other and
Yep.
puts his arms out on the 20-yard line. He's already got his arms out. He's already doing the gritty in the end zone. No Vikings fan is going to forget that moment. It was a great debut for Justin Jefferson. And I like that Wanham play too, because I was somehow invested in that game. I mean, going back, and this is my play. So going back, we're 1-5. It's 21-14 with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter on the road in Green Bay, 3rd and 9. And the recently departed Gary Kubiak dials up a screen pass, maybe the only successful screen pass of the season. And Garrett Bradbury cuts the linebacker. Dozier seals the nickel. Ezra Cleveland sends the safety airborne, and Dalvin Cook does the rest. Just vision, agility, speed into the end zone. 50-yard touchdown to put Minnesota up by 2 scores against the hated Green Bay Packers. I don't know about you, but the Vikings, again, they were 1-5. I started that game miserable, telling myself I didn't care. We should tank. Mike Zimmer needs to get fired. Kirk, tank for Trevor. Kirk Cousins, I'm done with him. And so I was just, laying on my couch when Dalvin hit that play. 50 of 220 yards on that day. When he hit that play, I hopped out of my seat, spiked the football, everything was all right. And so that's the play for me, because it's amazing just the plays that give you hope, like the Wanham play, young guy making a play, Justin Jefferson into the end zone. Those are the moments that we can always take away from this 2020 season, even though it may have been a failure.
Yeah, exactly. That was a classic Godfather 3 game. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And and it was like, and I'm glad you said it was one of the few one of the few screenplays that actually worked, because screenplays were mostly a disaster for the Vikings. But yeah, when the offensive line actually gets downfield and does their job, it works pretty well when you have someone like Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Okay, we're still on the clock. Let's go.
Okay, so my second one is if you had to choose only one pending Vikings free agent on either side of the ball to re-sign. So this is the current, the upcoming class of free agents that the Vikings have. If you had to choose only one on each side of the ball, who would it be and why?
Okay. Well, I think this is a pretty easy question, Eric. And maybe you thought it was a hard question because there's not a lot of players I'd like to see back in purple, but that pretty much makes it easy. So if I only had to choose one, let's go defense first. The correct answer is Anthony Harris. Down year, I know, but you just look at the other guys. Like Eric Wilson is a backup. I'm not overpaying him. Jaleel Johnson is a ghost. Harris has at least shown good performance. So you hope it was just his surroundings, the injuries, and then he'll be back to that ball hawking role player in 2021. It probably won't happen, but that would be my pick. On offense, again, it's easy. It's not Dakota Dozier.
Thank you.
It's not Brett Jones or Amir Abdullah, because the Vikings never use them. So don't pay them again. It's not Sean Mannion. That's boring. By process of elimination, I'm going with Rashad Hill. Cheat swing tackle who can start in a pinch. Insurance if Brian O'Neill or Riley Reif get injured. And if they choose to move Ezra to tackle and he struggles, you got Rashad Hill there to be the backup. So Rashad Hill and Anthony Harris.
Those are two pretty good choices. I'd like to see Harris back myself. I think he's going to price himself out. I think PFF, even after his down year, listed him in the top 5 of free agents this year. So I'd like to see it. I don't think it probably will happen. So if I'm going for something maybe a little more realistic, maybe linebacker Eric Wilson, just to sign him to a new deal. Again, he might be expensive too. Depends on what the team does with Anthony Barr. If Barr can get restructured, or if they try to trade him or something like that in the house. People kind of forget that Anthony Barr was a big loss on the defense because everyone just kind of
Right.
rips on him for the couple, his bad pass coverage, which he isn't
The
supposed to be doing
perception
a
is
lot
just off.
anyways. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
My
so if Barr doesn't come back, I would maybe go with Wilson on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, my issue with that is they've drafted so many linebackers like Gideon and Cameron Smith, and now you got Todd Davis and Hardy Nickerson, all as options. So like, what are you doing drafting those guys if you're just going to bring Eric Wilson back?
Yeah,
So
that's true too.
yeah.
And I'm with you on the Jones thing. If they're not going to use him, I don't know
Mhm.
if Mike Zimmer has something against Canadians or something like that at this point, because he's obviously a better option. And the times that he has been out there, he's performed just fine, and that's all the Vikings need. Like I said, they just need to be not actively terrible in that position. But yeah, if they're not going to use him, don't resign him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of backups, we're talking about backup offensive linemen, backup linebackers. My third and final question for you, Eric. Who will be the Vikings 2021 backup quarterback behind Kirk Cousins?
That is a excellent question, and it's the $5 to $7 million question, I think, on a lot of people's minds. Just because, again, it's a weird thing because it's never been an issue, and Kirk Cousins, knock on wood somewhere, but Kirk Cousins just doesn't
Mhm.
get hurt. But you always
Right.
have to have a backup plan. I really don't think Sean Mannion is that backup plan. Thankfully, they haven't had to check whether or not that is the backup plan. But this is kind of a fun class of free agent quarterbacks coming up. You have, like Ryan Fitzpatrick's available again.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor,
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett. I've liked what they've done. Jameis is, I think he's a free agent again. If there's a lot of experience there, and it's something that maybe if they had to start for half the season, if Kirk got hurt really bad, things probably don't go that well. But I think there's a lot of interesting options. And I don't think many of them will really break the bank. You never know with what teams are
Mhm.
needing, especially with veteran backups. There's going to be a lot of demand for these players. Even some, maybe Cam Newton comes. I doubt that he's ready to call himself a backup, but that's one. He could maybe come in on a 1-year prove it deal and see. I just don't know if the Vikings would be interested in anyone that would even resemble challenging Cousins for the starting spot, just with all that money invested in him. But even something like Andy Dalton, who's going to be available, if they get really desperate and really if nothing else happens, maybe Mitch Trubisky. Oh no, I can't even. I can't even. I can't even. With all of the hate that we have thrown on him throughout the years, even though he has 5-1 against the Vikings, maybe it's just a good get him off the team so he doesn't have to beat the Vikings. But so there's a
Right.
lot of options. I have no inkling as to where they're going to go. If they do, even Mannion probably will come relatively cheap. And again, it hasn't been a huge need, thankfully. But it's just, I hope they go with someone more interesting that gives you a little hope. Because I mean, that's the Saints have had to do it the last 2 years now with the Drew Brees missing chunks of time, and they didn't miss a beat because they had Teddy Bridgewater last year, and they had the whole Taysom Hill experiment go actually decently well this year. So if I just want them to have a slightly better backup plan.
Yeah, it's a weird time to need a quarterback. There's a lot out there, but there's a lot of teams that need a signal caller more than the Vikings do. I just hope they're a little more adventurous than Sean Mannion.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we got 3 minutes left, Eric. Moving
Okay.
fast. Last question. What you got?
All right. Well, I wrote this one yesterday, and it was before Kubiak officially retired. But now that he is officially retired, who tops your wish list for new offensive coordinator for the Vikings? Are you okay with the Clint Kubiak nepotism, or you want to go somewhere else?
No. No, nobody in house. Clint Kubiak, give me a break. Rick Dennison, no way. I think the best mix of realistic and I like the guy type is Anthony Lynn, a veteran coach, which Mike Zimmer likes. He and Zimmer have been on coaching staffs together before under Bill Parcells in Dallas. Some fans want to complain about Anthony Lynn and his time management in Los Angeles. I do not have time for any of that. I mean, the guy is a great coach. He's an underrated coach who should never have been fired in Los Angeles. I'll go as far as saying that. And look at it this way. Anthony Lynn won 24 games over his last 3 years for Los Angeles. How many has Mike Zimmer won in the same time period, last 3 years? Do you know, Eric?
Well, we got 7 plus 10 plus 8. So yeah, quick math, 25.
25. One more game Mike Zimmer has won. And somehow Zimmer is this locked in fixture, can't be fired. But Anthony Lynn is a bad coach. I mean, miss me with that. Take the entire Chargers offensive staff, Anthony Lynn, Pep Hamilton coached in the XFL and then just helped to groom Justin Herbert. I mean, hell, hire him as offensive coordinator. He had some great years as an offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. And then you got James Campen, the former offensive line coach for the Chargers. So, like, bring them all on by Rick Dennison, by Clint Kubiak. I just don't have time for it. We have a real chance to get some really good coaches here on the staff. And hopefully now that Gary Kubiak is out of the picture, they take this search seriously because the offense really needs that scheme to progress.
Yeah, I love that Lynn pick too. As long as it's not the, our buddy Luke Braun always sends out that Adam Gase Vikings Photoshop just to torture us. Yeah, but I really like the Lynn pick too because he is the leadership. Again, you can definitely nitpick some of what Lynn did this year with the end of game stuff, but doesn't that feel like it's just the Chargers? Like it
Right.
didn't matter who the coach is going to be. It's just the Chargers charging. I just feel bad from there. But so yeah, I'd like to see him think outside the box a little bit for the next offensive coordinator, not just be another inside hire.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I don't have anybody else. I mean, honestly, I like Anthony Lynn and Pep Hamilton as head coaching candidates, but Mike Zimmer, again, we're not allowed to say he should be fired right now. So we'll get to that on a different show. Eric, 9 seconds left. We've had a lot of fun with our 6 questions. Thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, that's it, y'all. Thank you for listening. The show is over. Viking Hot Takes will be coming to you again soon. Skol Vikings.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.